The fluorescent lights of Denver Memorial's ER flickered faintly above a too small body, swaddled in stark white sheets. Emily Patterson, 6 years old and motionless, lay as still as porcelain beneath the rhythmic beep of monitors. Her auburn hair fanned across the pillow, a soft crown for a fragile frame. Outside the trauma room door, a German shepherd barked deep, insistent, unyielding. Max. John Patterson's hands were still smudged with grease from the shop he'd sprinted from. He stood torn between hospital protocol and the dog that had saved his daughter. He found her, John rasped. If it wasn't for Max. His voice trailed, cracking with what-ifs and barely contained fear. Sarah dropped to her knees, arms wrapping around Max's thick neck. She had once questioned bringing a dog like him into a house with a wheelchair-bound child. Now she could barely breathe without him nearby. "He's staying," she said with finality. Max whimpered low, pressing his body closer to her, as if affirming, "I'll never leave her again." Behind glass, doctors moved like shadows around Emily's body. And in that moment, everything fell away. The warnings, the judgments, the unrelenting weight of disability. What remained was this: a little girl clinging to life, and the dog who refused to let her go. 3 months earlier, the world had felt much smaller and colder for the Pattersons. In a modest Denver home, made of love, medical bills, and quiet endurance, Emily sat by the living room window, tracing ghost patterns on the glass. Outside, children played. Inside, she remained, her wheelchair both a lifeline and a barrier. "Why doesn't Tommy's mom let him play with me?" she asked softly. John's heart cracked. He knelt beside her, the scent of motor oil still clinging to his clothes. "Some people don't understand what makes you special," he said, brushing a lock of auburn from her cheek. "That's their loss." In the kitchen, Sarah counted pills and time in equal measure. Her nursing hands moved with mechanical precision, even as her eyes dimmed with the weight of sacrifice. Their home had been modified to accommodate Emily's needs: wider doorways, ramps, hope measured in inches. Yet every change seemed to distance them further from the community that once welcomed them. Neighbors who once offered casseroles now offered silence. Birthday invitations stopped arriving. And still Emily fought, each small movement a defiance, each smile a spark in the growing dark. "Look, Mommy," she beamed one afternoon, holding a colored block, steady for a full 5 seconds. Sarah and John exchanged glances across the room, pride shadowed by sadness. Their little girl celebrated victories others took for granted. They clung to each other like battered anchors in a sea of pity and polite rejection. Love endured, but it was stretched thin until one rainy evening, a single moment outside a shelter window lit a different path. A therapy dog nuzzling a wheelchair-bound child. A glimpse, a thought, a beginning. The Denver Animal Rescue Center stood still under the pale gold of a Saturday morning sun. Emily's wheelchair rolled gently over the ramp, every inch of her body quivering not with fear, but hope. Her tiny hands clutched the armrests as her parents flanked her. John steady with resolve, Sarah cautious with worry, sharp in her chest. Karen Matthews greeted them with the warmth of someone who had seen both despair and healing. She knelt beside Emily, her voice gentle. "Looking for someone special?" Emily nodded, whispering, "A helper." Through echoing hallways lined with barks and stories, they passed dogs of all shapes. Sarah's hands gripped the wheelchair tighter, with every kennel maternal instinct on alert. Then they reached the last kennel. Max, a German shepherd with amber eyes, stepped forward, not aggressive, not anxious, just watchful. His coat glowed in sun-dappled patterns of black and tan, and as he approached the bars, He extended one massive paw and gently rested it on Emily's armrest. The world paused. John exhaled. Sarah gasped, and Emily whispered, "Hi, Max." "I'm Emily." The dog sat regal and silent, as if recognizing her voice from another life. Karen lowered her voice. "He came to us 3 months ago. Paperwork says his owner died, but we suspect neglect. What's strange is he's trained, really trained. He wasn't just loved, he was prepared." In the shelter's meet and greet room, painted in soft blues and padded with cushions, Max entered like he belonged, not just in the room, but in Emily's world. The German shepherd aligned himself beside her wheelchair, his body language composed, instinctively bracing, as if ready to be her foundation. John's voice trembled. He's already watching over her. For an hour, the room became its own small universe. Max retrieved toys. Emily dropped without a word. He let her balance against him, without shifting. Every response was measured precise and patient, as if he'd waited his whole life to meet this child. Karen stood nearby, her voice soft with awe. "Max has had trust issues, but with Emily." She gestured toward the dog, resting his head in the little girl's lap, his eyes locked on her face. "I've never seen anything like it." Sarah knelt slowly, watching Max for signs of tension. He didn't flinch. Instead, he extended his protective circle to include her too, his breathing steady, his eyes calm. "Has he ever shown aggression with children?" she asked. Karen shook her head. "None. He's been through rigorous evaluation. His temperament is exceptional, especially with kids who need gentleness." Emily's voice broke the silence. "He's perfect. He understands me." She ran her hand gently over Max's ear. "He knows." John and Sarah exchanged a long look, one full of fears they dared not name, and hopes they hadn't allowed themselves to feel. Karen added gently, "There's still training to finish, and a trial period. But it's clear they've already found something rare." The morning after Max came home, the Pattersons faced their first storm. Mrs. Wilson stood on their lawn, arms crossed, voice edged with judgment. A German shepherd with a disabled child. "Are you out of your minds?" John stood his ground, one hand on Emily's wheelchair. Max sat calmly beside them, his stillness louder than words. "He's trained. He's here to help Emily." But whispers bloomed like weeds at school, in the neighborhood, even at the vet's office. Dr. Reynolds spoke with gentle caution. Even trained dogs have instincts. One slip, one moment of excitement. Sarah's hands clenched in her lap. "You haven't seen them together." At home, their budget stretched thin. Max's special diet, vet care, and training added weight to a balance already tipping. Sarah stared at a stack of unpaid bills, her voice trembling. "Maybe we made a mistake." Then laughter. Emily's laughter rose from the bedroom. They peeked inside. Max lay beside her as she read aloud, his head resting in her lap, eyes full of quiet comprehension. A guardian in fur and breath. And when Emily's muscles seized during therapy, Max was there before anyone else. He braced beside her, strong and silent. "Keep going," Emily whispered, face wet with pain. "I can do it." She didn't ask to stop, not with Max there. The test came swiftly. Emily fell from her wheelchair in the driveway, not because of Max, but despite his desperate attempt to steady her. Mrs. Anderson, watching from her window, called animal control. "That dog is dangerous," she snapped as Officer Martinez arrived. Emily, still shaken but fierce, clung to her father. "No, Max tried to catch me. He barked for help. He's my guardian angel." The officer knelt, observing Max gently nuzzling Emily's hand. "This is a trained service dog," he said quietly. "And from what I see, he's doing his job exceptionally well." But school proved harder. On a chilly October morning, Emily wheeled into the yard, Max beside her, his vest gleaming. Whispers followed. "Look, it's the dog girl." Tommy Anderson snickered, stick in hand. "Let's see if he's really trained." He hurled the stick. Max didn't lunge or bark. He simply moved between Emily and the boys, body alert calm. Trained, protective. Still chaos erupted. A teacher arrived. Accusations flew. Later in the principal's office, Tommy's mother demanded Max's removal. "This is a school, not a kennel," she barked. Sarah stood tall. "Your son bullied mine." Max did exactly what he was trained to do, protect without harm. Emily's small voice pierced the room. "Max makes me feel safe. He helps me be brave." The school counselor finally spoke. Since Max arrived, Emily participates more, smiles more. Isn't that what education is about? No one had an answer. The letter came on a Tuesday. Corporate letterhead cold, and Final Wilson's auto shop was closing. 2 weeks' notice. John read it twice, hands trembling. Max lay beside Emily at the breakfast table, ever watchful, as John quietly pulled Sarah aside. "It's gone. The shop. It's gone." Their delicate financial balance shattered instantly. Emily's medications, Max's care, mortgage. It all loomed at once. They laid out bills across the kitchen table that night. "We could sell the car," John offered. "Take the bus." In winter, Sarah whispered, glancing at Emily's therapy schedule. "With a wheelchair." The lights flickered. Sarah ran her fingers through Max's fur. "Maybe we should find him another home," she said, voice cracking. "We'd get the adoption fee back. It would pay for Emily's meds." "No," John said, firm. "You've seen what he does for her." So, they worked. John took odd jobs, construction delivery, night security. His hands, once blackened with oil, now bore fresh calluses of survival. Sarah sold heirlooms, her wedding china, his grandfather's watch. Each sale chipped away at their past, but protected Emily's future. Then Emily got sick. A respiratory infection sent her to the hospital. Max wouldn't leave her side, curling beside the bed, alert to every shift in her breathing. "Your dog catches changes before our monitors," a nurse murmured. "He's incredible." Sarah managed a tired smile. "He's family." That night, hope returned in a hushed phone call. Mike, John's former boss, spoke urgently. "There's a man in Boulder buying up auto shops. He needs experienced managers." "I'll take it," John said instantly. He didn't care about the commute. He cared about keeping Max, and more importantly, keeping Emily's world whole. But the next morning brought another blow. A foreclosure notice. 30 days. The house, Emily's haven, her adapted bathroom, her ramps, her routines, was slipping away. John sat on the porch, the letter limp in his lap. Max pressed against his side, silent solidarity. Sarah joined them, her voice barely a breath. "We can't lose the house." John scratched behind Max's ears. "You once said hope comes in unexpected forms. Maybe we hold on a little longer." That night, a knock on the door. Karen from the shelter, soaked from the storm. "I found something," she said, holding a manila envelope. Inside, photos of a younger Max, thinner, beside a boy in a wheelchair. His name was Tommy. Max was trained for a child, like Emily, Karen said, voice trembling. But after Tommy's mom died, his father couldn't cope. He left Max at a gas station, 3 states away. Emily gasped. Max laid his head in her lap, soft and steady. "He walked over 200 miles, Karen whispered, eyes damp, trying to find his way back. Emily stroked Max's fur. "You knew," she whispered, "that I needed you, like Tommy did." Karen's voice trembled as she laid out the final paper from the envelope. "Tommy's sister found us. She's been looking for Max ever since. She wants to meet him and Emily." The room held its breath. Max stayed close to Emily, his posture low, gentle. He didn't flinch at the past. He absorbed it, as if it only made his purpose clearer. Sarah knelt beside them, her voice hushed. "You've done this before," she whispered. "You already knew how to love a child who needed you." Max wagged his tail softly, eyes fixed on Emily's. He didn't just understand her needs, he remembered them. Later that night, John and Sarah stood at Emily's doorway. Max lay at the foot of her bed, head raised each time she shifted in sleep. "He doesn't just watch her," Sarah said. "He feels her." John nodded slowly. "He's not just a dog. He's a soul that chose her." In the days that followed, Emily and Max became inseparable. Therapy was no longer a chore. It was a challenge, one Max helped her meet. And when her body gave out, when tears replaced determination, Max would simply rest his head in her lap, anchoring her until she could try again. Emily asked one evening, "Do you think Max loved Tommy like he loves me?" John answered gently, "Yes. But now he's loving you with everything he has left, and maybe more." Emily's recovery became a story told not just in therapy logs, but in moments that left even professionals stunned. "Watch this," she beamed one day, using Max's steady frame to stand upright for 30 full seconds. Nicole, her therapist, blinked back tears. "That's a personal best." The community, once cold and skeptical, began to thaw. Mrs. Thompson, the widow next door, watched Max with soft eyes. "I was wrong about him," she told Sarah, passing fresh-baked cookies over the fence. "That dog has an old soul." At school, Emily still faced resistance, but she stood taller, literally and figuratively. She spoke up in class. She demanded to be seen. "She's becoming assertive," one teacher complained. Sarah smiled. "You mean she's becoming a student who believes she belongs?" Max was more than Emily's helper. He was her mirror, her bridge. He sensed when she pushed too far, often laying his head in her lap until she rested. One evening, frustrated by failing muscles, Emily sobbed, "I'll never be strong enough." Max didn't move to fix the problem. He rested beside her instead. "You're teaching her how to listen," Sarah whispered later, stroking his fur. "Not just to you, but to herself." And Emily listened. She began journaling victories and failures. One entry read, "Dear Max, today was hard, but you stayed with me. Being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about trying anyway." Max watched her right eyes soft, as if he already knew. The ripples of change reached beyond their front door. The neighborhood began to shift, one kind word at a time. Parents who once pulled their children away now lingered to watch Emily and Max train in the yard. Even Tommy Anderson, the former bully, approached shyly. Can I sit with you?" he asked beneath the oak tree at school. "You can stay," Emily said, her voice clear. "But only if you're nice. Max doesn't like mean people." Their bond reached the school stage at the talent show. No song, no dance. Just Emily and Max demonstrating trust, teamwork, and strength. The crowd stood for 5 minutes. The story spread first through local papers, then through social media. Families with disabled children wrote to the Pattersons. Sarah launched a backyard support group. Max moved through the children like a shepherd of courage, sensing what each one needed. Even their toughest critics softened. Helen Anderson, Tommy's mother, watched Max nuzzle her son and whispered to Sarah, "I judged without understanding. He's not just helping Emily. He's helping us all." Businesses hung signs, "Service animals welcome." The city council invited Emily and Max to speak. "Max helps people see me," Emily told them. "Not just my wheelchair." Max's legacy deepened. The shelter saw a surge in adoptions. Emily's physical therapy center launched a pilot program using dogs. Dr. Reynolds, once skeptical, now donated Max's vet care. "He's changing how we define healing," he said. And at home, in the quiet spaces, The most profound changes bloomed. One morning, Sarah watched Emily drop a book outside. She didn't rush to help. She waited. Emily looked at Max, then back at the book. "I can do this," she whispered. Using techniques she'd practiced, she retrieved it herself. Max stood watchful, but still. Sarah wiped a tear, whispering to Max later, "When did you get so wise?" The dog leaned into her hand, and in that small, wordless moment, she knew he had always been wise. They had only just learned how to listen.